What's up? I'm Mike Ciprari.
I'm Patrick Galante from Ice Nine Kills.
And this is Loyal to the Craft.
Basically laid off from touring and then laid off from my job in the same day, having Ice Nine Kills call me and be like, would you be able to learn this set and play Warped Tour with us? Before we even played a single show, I was already in like photos and music videos because they needed a guy.
He walked by our booth in Jersey. He's like, dude, we need to get a popcorn theme kit. I'm like, yes, you do. Let's go.
I find it really hard to look at the crowd while I'm playing because if I see like a crowd surfer and then I'm like worried about the crowd surfer, I hate crowd surfing so much. It makes me so nervous. Yeah. Just think, you're gonna get hurt. The first 3 songs in the Metallica set are like I'm playing the intro of Hip to Be Scared with one hand, drinking water, and like trying to catch a breath during the Metallica set is literally impossible. There is no time. Yeah. I think I have. There's a break in the middle of the set for the Welcome to Horrorwood like intro that I do vocals in, so it's not even like a real break. Yeah. And then there's like the intro to Stabbing in the Dark at the end where I'm finally like, okay, catch a breath and then play like the hardest song last and then walk off stage.
Yeah, unreal. Well, dude, so like Ice Nine Kills, your drum parts are really technical and there's a lot going on as we're talking about right now. Right? Yeah. Like there's a lot of production in the set that you guys take time to create and curate and make happen. There's a lot that goes into that behind the scenes before it goes on stage, right?
Yeah.
So, you're playing arenas, you're playing tour, shows with Metallica. The things you guys have accomplished are nothing short of incredible. And I'm sure a lot of pinch me moments throughout that of like,
oh yeah,
you wake up and you're like, okay, you're human, right? So like, there are bad days, there are good days. Yeah. You have to, as a human being and as a creative, always try to push through those moments and pinch yourself to remember, here's where I'm at, and obviously you have goals where you want to go next.
Yeah.
So what does that feel like at this point in your career after everything that you guys have worked for,
I mean, it's definitely one of those things where having the bad day or like having a poor attitude when you wake up is, I firmly believe that in the touring world, and this is I think my 14th or 15th year professionally touring, and it's always been what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do this from a very young age, and it's one of those things where I try not to wake up and be in a bad mood or let something like, oh, our load-in for a Metallica show at this arena in Amsterdam is going late, so now we're going to be rushed. Yeah. Like, there is no reason why I should be feeling like that's the end of the world for me or that I'm going to have a piss-poor attitude all day about it. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the show's going to happen, and we're in an arena, a stadium with Metallica playing for, 50, 60, 70,000 people. It's like you kind of have to trick yourself or learn how to take a bad morning or a bad experience that starts your day off wrong and kind of, remember what you're doing and remember not to take it for granted and use the situation itself, use the big picture to kind of soften the small picture. Yeah. Like using the using the fact that this is what you are doing to kind of negate the fact that you might have broken up on the wrong side of the bed or whatever. Yeah. It's definitely a challenge, especially when you are touring as constantly and consistently as we have for the past, since COVID, basically, since 2021 when we came back. We played, I think, 114 shows from September of 2021 to the end of 2022, which coming out of 2 years of not playing any shows almost, I mean, it was like 114 shows, 89 of them with the Trinity of Terror tour last year with the same two bands. Like that was like, that's an insane thing for a band to do. And then to take a few months off and then directly go into 8 weeks in Europe, 2 days break, 6 weeks in the US, like 2 days break, and we've played probably already 100 shows this year, and we're not even done with this tour.
Right.
So that the burnout and the bad moods, the waking up on the wrong side of the bed happens more often for more people as your 6-7 months of touring a year happens, and a lot of the time it's unavoidable. And other people's moods directly affect other people's moods. You know, if somebody else is having a bad day, usually that means that other people are also going to be having a bad day, because of that's how humans are. That's just how connections are. Like it rubs off on people, and I really, really strive to not be like that. And when I see somebody else maybe in a bad mood, I do like often try to like nip that kind of stuff in the bud and be like, hey, like, remember where we are. Remember what you're doing. Like, I know it's a rough day. I know we've been at this for 6 months. I know that, you know, you don't get paid enough to do this, or they don't get paid enough to do this, but we're here. We got to do this show. And, you know, if this negative energy is going to be, you know, surrounding us today, we got to make sure that we're not letting it affect our crew and our crew internally. You know, it's such a, there's so many moving parts, you know.
100%.
15 different people on a crew. If one person has a bad day, everybody can have a bad day.
Totally.
It's so hard to avoid that.
Yeah, I think there's such a key piece of what you just said is like the perspective of the whole thing. I think we all have to remember, myself included, man, like it's like when we were kids and you were picking up the drumsticks or whatever it is. I think a lot of people misinterpret when a business or a brand or a band is doing well. You see, you know, you guys playing with Metallica, it's like everything looks great online and photos and videos and everybody looks happy, but like those are just key little moments in the day, or maybe even 2 weeks ago, you know, so like that perspective, like when you were younger and you started picking up the sticks, like, do you ever call on those moments of like, remember young Patrick, or remember that moment when you saw this person going through something difficult? Is there anything like that comes to mind that you call on?
I think watching Fuse TV back in the day, back when I was in like middle school and high school, and watching like mainly Warped Tour specials.
Yeah, those are so sick.
You know, like Warped Tour crew specials or Warped Tour like live videos and behind the scenes stuff, and then actually getting able to play 2018, the last Warped Tour, especially on that tour itself, which was one of the hardest tours that I've ever done. It was my first tour with Ice Nine Kills, and that tour kicks your ass. We did 20 straight shows on that run. No days off. 20 straight days of Warped Tour. The setup, it's all one rig. They don't hopscotch. It's all one traveling thing, and we did 20 straight days. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And that's that moment when you wake up and your back hurts because you've been loading, like we loaded trucks. Like the band is the crew at that point most of the time, especially for us at that point. And it was one of those things where I would think back to watching those shows and being like, this wasn't what I expected. You know, this wasn't what I was seeing, because a lot of those interviews, a lot of those live videos, a lot of that, like seeing bands having fun and like fucking summer camp, like music summer camp or whatever, like rock and roll summer camp, I think is what they call their punk rock summer camp or whatever. Like, you don't realize that all of those people had to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning the day before, start getting the show ready, like unload that truck, set everything up, play the show, load the truck, and then maybe you had the night off, and then the next morning you had to do it again and again, and you see all these interviews and you see all these people and everything looks like flowers and roses, but reality, like you had no idea how much work was going into doing those things, and how much a lot of the time the bands were the guys doing that too. Just remembering back on that stuff and being like, wow, like this is what I've always wanted to do because of shows, because of behind the scenes stuff like that. And it wasn't until I started like touring that I realized that it was going to be really, really hard work. But knowing that maybe, you know, if I can mimic the attitude of these artists that I looked up to that were able to still put on the show and have a positive attitude about all of it, even though it's been a 18-hour day, then that would benefit the people around me.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And that's such a critical piece too, like speaking of whatever it is, again, business or a band, like the people that you surround yourself with, their attitudes, their energy, the creativity that they can add to the group is so critically important. And I feel like it's easy to just shove that away and be like, oh, whatever, like my drumming is good enough, I'll be good enough. But it
that
really,
that was never the case. I never felt like that because I have never felt like the top drummer in any situation that I've ever been in. And a lot of my touring experience and what I would put on a resume was that I was also, you know, with Affiance, I loaded and unloaded that trailer every day. Like I was our crew when it came to that. And on Warped Tour, me and Ricky were unloading and loading a truck every day. There was a time on Warped where on the Owly stage, the stage manager couldn't get into Canada and he paid me and hired me to load an entire stage's truck. And I was like, Ricky, I need your help. And like that's because of just the work ethic. Like I could probably get gigs in touring that had nothing to do with drumming because whatever artist already has a good drummer, but they need, you know, a drum tech or a stage manager or, you know, just a production manager or something. And that's something that I could probably step into just because of knowing that I had to do those things in order to get to where I was. The whole 10 years of DIY touring with Affiance was like just van and trailer, you load, you unload, you set up your drums, you take care of all the technology on stage, and all of that experience and knowledge, I think almost like trumps what I could do on the drums. You know what I mean?
Dude, no, but that's awesome. And not to say that you're not an incredible drummer, because you are, but it adds such an element to it that I think I try to talk about a lot with people, and you know, the next generation of drummers specifically in my world hit me up and they're like, how do I do X, Y, and Z? And it's all of that. It's like, you got to just get in the garage and suck. You got to get in the van and trailer or your hatchback.
It's experience, man.
It's experience. That's all there is to it.
That's the best way to learn. And when I dropped out of college, before I even started college, I was accepted. I was going to go for photography. It was all going to be great. I got the gig to play for Affiance. I dropped out before that. And even in that schooling aspect, my father was somebody that said like, hey, basically if you don't like school, taking classes on how to learn cameras, you're better off just getting a apprenticeship or an internship with a real photographer who's already been in the real world and already knows how to do this, because you're the type of person, which I am, who's going to learn more from hands-on experience and from learning in the field. And I think that I took that and really ran with it in the other career path, which was like the only way to get good at this and to be respected in this industry is to be able to get your hands dirty. And I remember one of the first headliners tours that Ice Nine did where we had more than just like 3 crew members. And I remember Cleveland, Ohio, like the first day of the Octane Accelerator tour, loading one of my drum cases down a ramp and our stage manager coming up and putting his hands on my shoulders and turning me around, and he goes, what are you doing? And I literally had like tears in my eyes. I was like, because it was like my father was looking at me going, dude, you don't need to do this anymore. You're good, man. Look at all these hands, look at all these people around. You're gonna hurt yourself. Like you don't need to be crushing your fingers on cases anymore. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, my experience and like my work ethic has gotten me here now, and now I can, maybe focus on drumming more than anything else, more than how to pack the trailer correctly.
Amazing.
People are going to do that for me now,
Yeah.
and it's like it's such a weight off of your shoulders.
Yeah, 100%. But you earned it, but also I can tell from you and working with you that you have that work ethic. Even coming here today, getting our passes, you could have sent somebody out. You could have been like, meeting here. You came back out in the rain and walked us through. Like, that speaks to me volumes, because I come from that world as well. And I think that in this day and age, with social media and people not talking about the hard part of growing your thing, whatever that is not talked about enough. And I think that the working phase of that journey, which usually takes most of the time, right? Like, most of that journey is the climbing the mountain and doing the pulling your cases through the, however many miles for Warped Tour load and things like that, like driving overnight, not sleeping, and like not having maybe the healthiest lifestyle, but you're so driven and that's what fuels it all, right? Yeah. And a big piece for me, I think, is marketing, a big piece for me is networking. And through that journey, you're meeting all these people that you can call on, I'm sure, for advice or an ear to just listen to you, right? And so it leads me to my next kind of like piece with you is like, how did you get into Ice Nine Kills? Like, what were the moments of like getting you from touring in a van and trailer to getting in with the band and like leading up to where you are today?
Well, I mean, it all pretty much comes full circle. Affiance, the band that I had toured with from 2009 to 2017, we did Ice Nine Kills' first European or EU, UK run, because we were managed by Mike Mowry. Both bands were managed by Mike Mowry, and we were direct support on Ice Nine's first overseas tour. It was our second time. It was Ice Nine's first time, and that's when we really when I really got a relationship with those guys. We had met once before in Texas. I think Affiance and Ice Nine, our tours had combined into one big show at the White Rabbit or something. And I remember meeting them for the first time that day. I remember getting an Ice Nine Kills t-shirt. I remember wearing the Ice Nine Kills t-shirt, like, unironically. Even before that, 2007, I bought a CD from Spencer Charnas in Buffalo, New York, outside of a Armor for Sleep, The Bled, Seos in concert. Wow. They were there just selling CDs outside. Amazing, and I bought The Burning from Spencer for $10 or whatever. Yeah. And that I was 16, 17 years old. That's crazy. Yeah. Crazy. And then we meet them again on the road, and then they bring us out for their European tour, and then they bring us out again on a American tour. And that was all 2013 to 2016 type stuff for that touring, and so they at least knew that like I could play the drums. I think that at the time, JD, who was the guitarist in the band, who was a very hands-on, hardworking, the guy that would kind of made it his job to be the crew guy. Yeah. I think that he saw that in me as well. And in 2017, when Affiance called it quits and said, like, we're not going to be touring anymore, I kind of took a year off and was back to my job of building road cases. Yeah. I was working in a wood shop. I built a lot of road cases for a lot of bands and a lot of production companies, and was working long hours and missing playing drums and like missing touring so much. And there was a moment where the case company started to go through some financial troubles, and the day that the owner of the company like told us that it was our last day on the job, that basically like we can't afford to stay open anymore, this is everybody's last shift. Half the guys left and didn't finish the shift. I stayed and finished my shift because there were still cases that could be built and sent out that day. And within the last hour of my shift, JD called me and asked if I wanted to play drums for Warped Tour.
Dude.
So it was literally like not even a circle. It's like a weird figure eight going on of like buying a CD in 2008 or 7, touring with them twice, being basically laid off from touring and then laid off from my job in the same day, having Ice Nine Kills call me and be like, we trust you because we know your work ethic.
Yeah.
We know that you can play drums. You've seen our old drummer play, you know, enough shows to where like you're familiar with our music.
Right.
Would you be able to learn this set and play Warped Tour with us? And it was a door closing and a window opening, or whatever you want to say about it all. And I mean, before we even played a single show, I was already in like photos and music videos because they needed a guy. They needed a body. And photos looked weird with just 3 guys, and music videos look weird when you actually don't show who's playing the drums. I mean, at least for me, I hate when I don't know who's playing the drums. And so like I was already kind of an established member of this band as far as my face goes before we even played our first show at Warped Tour.
That's crazy. You never know what's around the corner. Like that story you just told me is insane. And like I met Spencer, like I used to put on shows at like our local PNA. And when it was Ice Nine Rocks.
Like a VFW?
Yeah, like a VFW, Nights of Columbus. You know, back in the day, you'd go to Kinko's and fly your own shows and stuff.
Floor shows.
And Spencer and the dudes came down and played, and they stayed at my parents' house, and we like stayed up all night. Spencer was telling me about his dreams of doing this. You know? And it's like, it's so cool about, you know, how just you can put that out into the universe. Clearly you had the right, you know, energy and the right work ethic to do it, but you never know when that door is going to open or one's going to close or whatever it may be. And I hadn't talked to Spencer in a bit, and I ran into him at Warped Tour, the last 2 Warped Tours, the one that was in Jersey and in San Francisco.
The night.
He walked by our booth in Jersey. He's like, dude, we need to get a popcorn theme kit. I'm like, yes, you do. Let's go. And it just all kind of like.
It's like the first time anyone's ever said that series of words together.
And I'm like, yes, you do. We'll build you a popcorn kit. And it's just, you know, that again goes back to, I think, the power of networking, of like just having relationships. And it's relationships. And networking, I think, does sound pretty like.
Well, I mean, it's the more professional way that people say it now, just because of social networking. But you know, networking in person is what it's a relationship.
And your story, the reason I guess I was going down that path is your story is a testament to that exactly. Like they were willing to put you like, this is our drummer, like before you guys even did stuff, which is not really the norm. And, you know?
And bro, I was scared. Like that's one of the first times when you play as many shows that I had played before that, like you don't really get nervous before shows anymore. It's your job. You kind of, all of those flutters get out of there. But like my first show with Ice Nine, I felt like unprepared. I felt not ready. I felt like they picked the wrong guy. I was like genuinely, we played one show before Warped Tour started, which was earlier that year. They had done Motionless Ice Nine Every Time I Die Ice Nine tour that Ricky was actually on. Ricky filled in for that tour. So Ricky's been in this band. Like now it would be Spencer, Ricky, me as like longest members. But I remember playing that first show and it wasn't Warped Tour and being like, okay, that went well, but like I did not feel good about it at all. And the first Warped Tour date, you know, we were playing in front of 800 people on the we closed the first like Warped Tour date. I'm just like all these emotions that I just hadn't felt in a really long time of feeling unprepared and inadequate and like not ready for this. But you know, JD and Morrow, the 2 guys that were in the band at the time, definitely like tried to give me some confidence and help me through that and be like, we picked you for a reason. You know, and whether that is work ethic that bleeds into drum ethic, you know, like being able to work at your craft to better it and become like where you need to be. You know, I'm obviously a lot more confident in what I'm doing now with this band, but that was definitely a time where I had to be told by people like, hey, we picked you for a reason. You're doing fine. You can do this.
How did you work through that? Like, what were some of your, you know?
I sat every day on Warped Tour. And so behind the stages, each band would have tents set up and all of your gear would get set up early in the morning. It'd be set up all day until you played, and then it got packed up and put in the truck. And I had my kit set up completely every morning to a T, and I had my laptop with all of the drum MIDI from every trick in the book. I think we played a couple songs. I think actually the main the majority of the set on Warped Tour was Every Trick in the Book, The American Nightmare, Thank God It's Friday, Enjoy Your Slay. Those were the only ones off of the newer record. And it was all, I mean, that was all done by JD basically.
Yeah.
So like it was all MIDI drums. So I sat there with my laptop every morning and just watched videos of it playing through and learning and like literally looking at note values and seeing what the exact fill is. And I just sat, I would get yelled at by the stage managers and be like, shut up, dude. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. You've been playing drums for 2 hours already. Like, shut up. Just be like, you don't understand. This is my job. You're sitting up there waiting for a band to play. This is my job.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have a practice kit or anything. I just had to sit down and actually learn that stuff on the acoustic kit. And you know, granted, I could have probably done a better job preparing, but like, I didn't have enough time to get to where I wanted to be. I had enough time to get good enough to get through the set.
Yeah.
Which I like, those early videos of Warped Tour, I was like, man, you are just phoning it in. Like you are faking your way through all of this just because you either don't know how to play the fill or you're just nervous about it. And it took a lot of just sitting down and like doing my research and really working at each song, you know?
And it's not easy, man. Like it's not easy to, it's not even easy to phone it in though sometimes. Like when you're up there on the drums, like it can sound pretty bad and go derailed pretty
There's a
quickly.
lot going on, man, and there's a lot. The guys in Defiance, Dominic used to look at me if I would screw up a fill, and he would look at me and pretend to have drumsticks in his hand and just go like this and then explode, because that's what it felt like my mind was doing, is that I was just doing this and then you'd get to the end and just like it just nothing, like just blabber mouth of just like this.
There's a lot going on for sure. Do you ever find yourself like thinking about random things? I got to do this later, and then find yourself forgetting where you're at in the song? And
Absolutely, dude.
What do you do?
Well, I have a couple techniques that help me get through songs, especially songs that have 3 choruses, because that can get really monotonous, and you're like, man, what choruses? I mean, that I have purposefully written this live fills and just little nuances that tell my brain which chorus I'm in. Thanks to the muscle memory of just being able to do it, and a lot of the times it has to do with me doing a fill that has 1 kick, 2 kicks, or 3 kicks in it to tell me which chorus I'm in.
That's awesome.
Dude, wow. I do it a few times during our set, Rocking the Boat. At the end of each Rocking the Boat chorus, I hit a ba 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 ba. In the second chorus, I go ba da ba da ba da da, and then in the third chorus, I go da 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 da, to really just progress on which chorus I'm in. That helps remind me a lot, and I also just like, I try not to think about really anything. You know, like I can't like look at. I find it really hard to look at the crowd while I'm playing, because if I see like a crowd surfer and then I'm like worried about the crowd surfer, because we've had so many shows where crowd surfers like security's not doing their job, and then Spencer like there's been shows where Spencer has called out security and like been like, if you don't start doing your job, I'm gonna come down there and kill you myself, basically. And like seeing, like being worried about people's safety, and then like being worried about all of the things that we have going on stage with, I mean, on this last tour we had 3 guitarists, a bassist, a vocalist, 3 actors, all this stuff going on stage, and I'm just like trying to not get distracted or really look at anything. But you also want to know if the show's going well. But I also know that if I start thinking about something, I'm going to be like, oh man, I have no idea. I don't have a lot of Spencer in my ears. I'm like, I don't even know what verse we're in. Like, it gets to that point. It gets. I've been scared. Even like on this tour, there's been moments where I've been like, huh, I don't know what part of the song I'm in.
Dude, I feel like people don't talk about that sort of stuff enough or at all, because it does happen. Like we're all only human, and like you're gonna think of certain things, or like you said, even like, yo, there's a dude crowd surfing. That's awesome. Trying to be like,
well, dude, and I'm never like, I hate crowd surfing so much. It makes me so nervous. Just you're gonna get hurt.
They're gonna get hurt. You're like,
hurting You're hurting other people. You're just like, you shouldn't be crowd surfing.
But you want to feel like the energy of the show and like be in it and giving your all, but then that also leads you down that rabbit hole of like, oh yeah, I have to.
You know what's also helped a lot with that is because of how far back our set is now. You know, we're not playing these tiny clubs anymore where I'm face to face with the crowd and I'm, 12 feet back and I'm 4 feet up. Doing live streams and stuff that I've been doing a little bit of, and like having my phone right here and being able to know that there's 200 people watching you from that close, and being able to kind of like focus in and be like, okay, I know I'm playing a show for all these people out here, but all these people are looking at Spencer and Ricky and Joe and Miles and the actors doing stuff. I'm pretty fucking far away. Like, no one's really paying attention to me during this show. There's fog, there's lights. I'm just back here doing the backbone here. But if I actually have a chance to like set up and know that I'm playing to an audience that's on my social media, that's there to watch me play drums, then you kind of get to focus in a little bit more and really like have the inspiration to put a little bit more into your set. Because not that I'm not playing for the crowd out there, but there's 200 like kind of like special people that are watching me on my phone right here. You know,
and
what
you're
I mean?
under a microscope.
Exactly. And I have a mix going right into the phone. Like everything can be heard, everything can be like. So it's very much. I can play just as hard knowing that there's people from around the world watching me on my phone as I would be, say, at the Metallica show, which is, putting me a little bit closer to the crowd. Plus, there's people behind you in that round. Not only am I playing to people that are 10 feet in front of me, 10 feet behind me, and I have to win over a bunch of those people because a lot of those people are not there to see us, and they're usually like, maybe like an older crowd that doesn't really know much about like modern metalcore. And when I start like ripping double kick or something, I see a lot of just like older dudes that are just like, how is he doing that? And I really embellish it and really go crazy and really do the stick tricks and stuff because people are like, I've never seen anything like this before. And it's like, it's because you're 90. Like, of course you haven't.
That's awesome. You're really good at the socials too. I love the perspective, and you've done a great job. I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the phone, but like the audio that you have going into the camera, into your phone.
I've been getting a lot of compliments on it in the live stream itself. I feel like I've never seen. Like obviously I've seen drummers stream on Twitch and stuff, and like Craig Reynolds is just like he's so dialed in and everything sounds perfect, and he's got 6 cameras set up in front of him and like the perfect microphones and all that stuff, and I'm like, I don't have that.
And you're also live.
But I don't have the space to do that at home. Like I really don't have like the budget to do any of that myself. So like my thing is I want to give that experience a quality, like audio, video wise, I want to give some sort of quality content doing the thing that I'm good at, which is playing live. Like sure, I can rip it in a studio. I recorded Affiance's Gaia EP in one day. Like I can just go for a long time, but the thing that I love most about doing what we do is playing live and being able to pull everything off live. So giving people that experience with high quality audio coming straight from my monitor board, and phones are good, phone cameras are good, so that's good enough for me.
That's awesome.
And I've been getting a lot of compliments saying that people have not seen this quality of live stream before, and it makes me feel good, and like I'm kind of doing something that people haven't seen before.
100%.
And
awesome.
I really like doing it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Do you have any advice for up and comers, musicians, creatives that would want to get their name out there and do something like that? What's the importance of social media and how you present yourself these days?
Right. I mean the quality. I think that there's a huge thing to say about the quality and the quantity. I know, like, I am not a person that posts video content every single day on multiple, apps or whatever. I don't really do that. Like my TikTok, sure, I have a lot of followers, but I don't post on there regularly enough to get any traction from that, and that's why I focus the most on the social media app that works best for me. So really honing in on like Instagram works the best for me. That's where I've had my following the longest. That's where my videos do the best. That's where I get a little bit of monetary kickback from like lives and badges and stuff like that. And Miles was actually talking to me about getting stuff going on YouTube. I know YouTube's doing like shorts and stuff now, and you're able to monetize pretty easily on there. And I think that just like doing the research and looking into what system is going to be best for how you want to release your content and what you want your content to be is the starting point of knowing your audience, knowing where your audience is, and how they are going to be consuming that media.
Yeah.
You know, my girlfriend was watching the live stream yesterday, and she was like, I noticed some patterns. You know, I saw like when you had the most viewers and when people were buying badges, and she loves that kind of stuff. So she kind of was like giving me a little bit of advice on like, I know that I don't get to actually physically see what's going on in the live stream. So she was kind of my ears and eyes in that, and telling me like, you know, you're one in Milwaukee. This is when people like started to dip out a little bit, and then you did 3 songs the next day, and blah blah blah, and you made this much. Like, so like really going in and seeing like the stats on that stuff really helps understand how your audience interacts with you.
Yeah.
And I know it could be just a bunch of mumbo jumbo to people who open up their stats page and they're just like, okay, so people 14 to 16 watched in America at this time. It's like, you don't really need to go that in depth, but there's enough information there to tell you what the best way to interact with your fan base is.
Yeah.
And I mean, the quality of sound and video has definitely boosted my interaction and my clicks and my shares like tenfold. I mean, the amount of videos that are getting shared is way more than before, and the amount of video that I'm able to put out is way more than before because of the system that I have going into the iRig stream that's able to record the audio right onto your phone instead of having to get all of the stems from FOH to sync to your video. Like, you already have a video that's got audio synced to it.
Ready to
it's
roll.
Already done. And then if I have a second angle, I just line up the videos together and the audio is already there. Like, finding those like little just like cheat sheets on how to do stuff is like it's helped me like up my content a lot on this tour. And we have January, February, March off, and I plan on like taking all these videos that I post on Instagram and getting them going onto YouTube just to see what happens. I have a few subscribers on YouTube. I can put out some full drum videos and then all the short stuff that I post on Instagram, put on YouTube and see if they'll monetize it. And if it's a couple extra bucks in my pocket, great. I've already done the work, so what's the harm in just uploading it to another site where people are going to watch your stuff? It's no harm, no foul at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can't be afraid to just put your videos on more than one app.
Yeah, I love that, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. And
I'm so glad you guys are here.
I love
you guys have been like supporting me. You have been supporting me like more than a lot of other companies have, and it just really feels nice to have somebody like you and a company like SJC in my corner. It's making me feel a lot better, especially on this tour when I was a little down about certain things about companies and about products and about sponsorships and endorsements and stuff like that. It's just really nice to have a team that is in my corner. So I appreciate that.
We really are, man. I love watching you know, everything you guys have done and the growth and the creativity that you guys put into it. It's not easy, you know, and it's not always fun like we talked about, but you know, it's amazing. The end result and like the journey has been awesome to watch. It's worth it, exactly. So stoked to see you guys crush it tonight, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, man.